I'm sorry. I won't laugh. I swear to God.
I gotta try not to laugh. Hi YouTube. I'm sorry. I'm
I heard
sorry,
it. I
YouTube.
heard it. When you said YouTube, I knew.
I'm not gonna cut that. I'm gonna leave that in. You guys are gonna see my shame because we're gonna just jump into this interview, and it's gonna be a great interview. And you're gonna learn all about webtoons and comics and cool stuff, and it's gonna be great. So yeah, I have Rage here, the creator of Skylark. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. Nice weather today, right?
I don't know. Honestly, it's kind of hot out here. Southern hemisphere and all that.
Yeah, that does increase the heat. It is summer down there, right? It's cold up here.
I wish I was there. It's fucking cold. I like the cold.
So do you want to read us the description to your webtoon?
Yes. Two brothers embark on a quest to places they've never seen, guided by a might they cannot read, and no skills to rely on. Certainly a recipe for success.
Yay!
That felt terrible. I'm sticking to it though.
The eternal mood. Yes. You gotta go with the flow.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta keep going.
Yeah. Speaking about keeping going, so you've been going in art for a while. How and when did you get into art?
I was always into art. My parents are both artists. They are painters. My grandparents on my mother's side are also. My grandparents a painter. My grandma is a sculpture. How do you say it? She sculpts.
A sculptor. Yeah.
Yeah, sculpture. And my uncle's also. I have an uncle that is also a street artist. I have a few dancers in my family. My brother does music. Like we're all sort of in it. I pretty much, when parents give their kids crayons, I just never stopped.
What kind of stuff did you make as a kid?
Well, when I was little, mostly drawing. I would just spend my days drawing, or for example, in situations where like my brother and I would be dragged with our parents to work-related stuff, and we wouldn't have any toys with us or anything. We would make little paper action figures with drawing on paper and cutting it up and using clips so that the arms and legs could move and things like that. And we would sculpt with clay with my grandma. As I grew up and I was allowed to use the expensive paints from my parents, I would try to make one painting here and there. In high school too, I did a lot of stuff in high school. It was a very interesting school. I did wood sculpting, stone sculpting, more clay sculpting, watercolor, also xylography. I think it's how you call it when you sculpt, when you sort of carve in wood and then you print. With it.
Yeah, I don't know what that's called for sure, but I do know what you're talking about.
Also made jewelry. Yeah, it was a very art-oriented school, and I went there from first grade till I graduated high school. Like it was the same school.
Is it like a specialty school, or because you listed like more stuff than I think we were able to do in like college?
Well, it's not that it was a specialty school. It was a German school in Peru. I went there because it was very close to my house, and they had a very odd approach to teaching. It was something like, we'll have you guys try everything and just see what sticks. Because like in between that, I also made cartography. Like I had a school project that was making maps for different places and like making geographical maps of the school and stuff like that, as well as many other things like theater. I really loved theater, poetry, music, all manner of things.
Oh, theater. I did theater in school too, and I really enjoyed it. And I could see by the way you talk, you have like a performer in you, so I can feel that energy, that vibe.
Oh, well, thank you. That's mostly the nervous, but I appreciate it.
So, what kind of things influenced you while you were growing up?
I feel like since I was always drawing, I was influenced by a little bit of everything. Like, I remember watching family members, my parents, my grandparents work, trying to emulate it. But I also have very vivid memories of shows. Like, some of my earliest memories are often related to watching a show and doing something else, kind of thing. Like, I very vividly, one of the first things I remember watching on TV back when I was in Cuba and I was like 3 years old, vividly, I remember sitting where my dad was working, which was like I'm not sure how to call it, but it's basically like a big art workshop he would work at. I remember they had a couch for me and my brother because we were the only kids that would hang out there all day, every day with our parents. And they set up like a couch and a TV, and I remember watching two things: the X-Men animated series from the 90s that we had on tape, but more importantly, and I feel like I always think about this memory sitting there watching Evangelion at 3 years old.
Oh, 3 years old.
And I really I always remembered it fondly until I rewatched it in my teens and I realized I shouldn't have been watching it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But we had tapes of so many different weird things. Like, we had not just like your classic Disney and Pixar movies, but we also had a bunch of animated shows and animes that our parents brought with them to Cuba.
Mm.
And I didn't start reading, like, comic books and manga are like really big influence on what I do, but I didn't really start reading any of that material until I was in my teens, because it was very difficult for me to find them. And I was in my teens, I had already been living in Peru for a few years, and I could not find them until I remember a book fair. Someone bought me my first comic book, and a few years after that, a newspaper here started publishing translated comics. I was already like 13, 14.
Mm.
And through reading comics, I started reading manga. And video games actually came a lot after, because I didn't play that many games. Like, I played them occasionally, mostly because my parents had restrictions on them when I was little. But by the time the PS3 came out, like a couple years after it came out, it was my and my brother's first big console. And then games really started to mold my work.
Oh, what kind of games did you get into when you started playing them?
I was always into the action adventure games. I could play RPGs. I played a lot of Pokemon, but it felt like a pastime. But when it came to action adventure games, RPGs, I was focused on them. Like, they were really something. Like, they meant something for me when I played them. And I guess it's also because they tend to be the ones with the more, how do you say it? I won't die by this statement, but action adventures tend to have the better stories, in my opinion. Just anything with any amount of roleplay would just take over my life. Like, as soon as I could decide as soon as you gave me the option on what to say, I would live by that game until it was done. And in hindsight, I should have been playing Dungeons and Dragons a lot sooner, because I feel like that's what I wanted from those games.
You want like the complexity and like
this feeling of really getting involved with a story. Just something about video games that none of the other media had was the physical and sometimes the verbal, to a point, involvement of yourself in the story, like telling the character, like speaking for the character, and you taking every action as the character.
Yeah. I definitely see that. The being able to like truly get involved with the story.
Yeah, I guess it just gave me a different way of appreciating stories. I really feel like before games, the way I approach reading or watch the movie, like any type of story, was sort of dissociated from me. Like it felt like something was happening from afar. And once I had the experience of really being involved with a story, not just with the actions of a character, because you can play a game like Mario and just jump on top of mushrooms, and you are playing the game, you are the character, but there is no role play as the character. I feel like as soon as I learned to empathize with a character like that, in general, I just started doing it more with every other type of story.
Yeah, like there's no secret deep Mario lore as far as
Yeah,
I know.
it's not like there's secret endings that depend on if you jumped in the wrong mushroom or if you slap Toad across the face, you suddenly you become some sort of renegade and you have to shave your mustache.
He becomes like an anti-hero. He fights the
Yeah,
Mushroom
he
Kingdom.
starts wearing a trench coat, and then after a while, he vows to never jump again. And like in like in the movie, he just doesn't jump.
There's like a
I don't
secret
know.
third Mario brother out there.
Turns out Luigi's adopted.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Wario's his dad. I don't know. I don't know.
Take notes, Nintendo. Take notes. So, when did you know that you'd want to make a comic?
Well, while I was growing up, I knew that I wanted to do something related to art.
Mm.
But sort of like what people perceive as fine arts just didn't like. It felt like it would be nice to try out, like get in it, like actually have an exhibit once, maybe. Like it felt like something that would be nice to do, but it just never felt like what I wanted to do.
Mm.
And still back then, we're talking between the early 2000s to early 2010s, there was, at least here in South America, there was no the idea of making video games or concept art for movies or graphic novels, like making your own comics or working for publishers. That idea is just something that didn't circulate. It was just something no one ever talked about. So I just didn't ever think about it until I was late in my teens, trying to figure out what way I could. What I wanted to do was tell stories, but through visual means, like illustrating, drawing, and I thought I just couldn't think of a way to do it. I was again a teenager. It just didn't cross my head that you can get this type of job until people started pointing out to me in a trip I made to Cuba with my brother and with my dad. My brother started talking to me about, you can actually work in the game industry. You can actually make concept art. You can actually draw characters and backgrounds, and this is a job. And I sort of felt like slapping myself. Like, of course this is a job. How did I not think about this? And while I was, sort of figuring out this whole new world of jobs that require artists, in this trip to Cuba, I actually met Spanish comic book artists. And I had a whole day in which we were sitting with him and one of his friends, and we were just chatting about what the work is like, and we were exchanging drawings with each other. I actually have a notebook where he did like 6 or 7 drawings.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was super cool, and it sort of opened my mind to these things are possible. These things exist out there, and these are completely not just really achievable things, but this is what I was looking for. This is a way to tell stories through drawing and illustration. Why did I not think about it? It was just one of those things that as a kid, it just doesn't cross your mind that you can do it until someone tells you. So since then, I sort of circulated the idea. I convinced myself that at some point I would release stories I had started, I had already worked on. I would release them as either short comics or graphic novels. I still didn't know what webcomics were. I wasn't one to really swim in the depths of the internet much. I kept to very shallow waters in that regard, so I didn't really ever heard of webcomics. And back then, I don't know if I don't think Webtoon existed back then.
Yeah, Webtoon's pretty new. I think it's like
But yeah,
2015 for the English site, maybe.
20 what?
2015.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't a thing. It was not a thing.
Yeah. Tell me then, when did you first start hearing about webcomics in general then?
It's funny because in 2015 I moved to the US, and through a few things, a couple of things happened. I ended up by 2016. I was already 2016, maybe amidst 2016. I was already living alone. I was like 19 years old or 20. Can't remember very well, but I had been stumbling from job to job. It was a tough time, and I had been sort of working on a little story because I just really felt like I didn't have time to do anything else other than the occasional drawing every week or so. And my brother told me that I should just take that little amount of time and make like a really basic comic just to experiment with it, because I just hadn't. I was in this pit that a lot of people find themselves in of I'm not ready, I'm gonna keep working on it until I know I'm ready, and you're just never ready. And I was there just sinking in the gunk of my own words and thoughts. And my brother told me, don't think about it as a long-term project. Don't treat it as this beautiful thing. Just treat it as a sketch. Just try to figure out a simple story, simple characters, base them on whatever, and just sort of try to make something. So I did. I started writing. I started designing a few characters. When I was getting ready to really put them into paper, I started thinking, but there has to be a way to make this work more than just being a sketch of something. There has to be a way to have it be more, even if it's just a little. And my brother then told me about webcomics. He told me, you can just post your pages, in this way, and this site. I was like, no, I don't know. I didn't know that. And he told me about it. He circulated the idea relentlessly as the weeks went by, and I kept working on it until he told me about Webtoon. He showed it to me. I remember immediately clicking on Blue Chair and my giant nerd boyfriend, and I really liked the format, the website, the feel of just a sort of easygoing feeling of the webtoons that were at that moment in the front page. There was such a now there's a lot of horror stuff and romance stuff, but at that point I remember it was mostly comedy. That was 2017. Sure, there was your occasional horror romance series here and there, but there was so much comedy just around. I started reading a few of them, had a good laugh. I thought it was a great idea. Why not? What I didn't expect that it was from a little sketch it turned into a passion, just a work of pure passion.
So you started posting on Webtoon back in 2018, is that correct?
Yes, July 4th, which was a terrible idea. I don't know why I ever thought posting on July 4th was a good idea.
On a holiday?
Yes.
Yeah.
It makes it virtually impossible to celebrate anniversaries.
There's a reason I took my hiatus when I did. It's because all of the posting days were holiday. Because like Christmas was on a Friday, New Year's was on a Friday. I was like, I'll just take one more week off besides that.
Yeah. Like I've made the conscious decision of saying, you know what, the anniversary is now the 3rd, not the 4th, the 3rd, and you can't tell me otherwise.
It's like a leap year birthday, like parents who lie to their kids
Yes.
so they don't have to miss out
Exactly.
on their birthday. But could you talk about, you talked about like how comedy and stuff used to be more popular on the site then. Could you talk about just in general changes between now and then on Webtoon?
Well, at first it felt a lot simpler. Like I maybe it was because I wasn't so into I'm gonna call it the meta of Webtoon, that maybe there were things I didn't see, but it really felt so much simpler. And by contrast, it was a lot more difficult to find things that were outside that simple image, that easygoing feel that most of the comics were giving off. And that's a thing that has changed a lot, is that Webtoon has somewhat been trying to lift the overall minimum numbers of the Canvas section. Like that is a thing that's been happening more and more, especially now with these things they're doing almost weekly now of, hey, read these many chapters in any Canvas series and, you know, get coins. Because back then Canvas really did feel like an afterthought, even though I started posting because of a Canvas, sort of like a Canvas little competition. It wasn't little, it was pretty big. But even like just outside of that, Canvas felt deserted, even though I learned that there were thousands of people posting all the time. If you went into any category and just scrolled down a bit, you would quickly get to people with a couple hundreds to less than 100 subs.
Mm.
And I feel like even if sometimes artificially, Webtoon has been trying to just pump up numbers in general, sort of like YouTube has like the threshold where 1,000 subs seems like you're starting to get out of being quote unquote little, when in Webtoon a couple hundred was when you started feeling like you were getting out of there. So that's the main thing I think has changed. Just Webtoon trying to, in general, boost the numbers in Canvas. By boosting their readers, I do mean that they are putting it. It's good for the creators because they keep trying to put more Canvas series out there. They try to rotate them constantly so that people get to see them, which is a good thing because back then it was really difficult to find series. It would show you always the same ones, and to find anything else, you really had to go to the genre section and just start scrolling, which I still do, but still it's not a great way because there are thousands of people there. There've been thousands of people.
Yeah.
And sometimes gems get lost.
That's the other thing I wanted to ask you about. Like, did you notice at any point like more and more comics going on? I mean, being added and stuff, like a difference there from the creator side?
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot more, and it's funny because you can somehow maybe the numbers of series itself doesn't reflect it. I wouldn't know this. I can't look at all these analytics, but it's like Webtoon goes through stages. Like I was saying, when I started looking at it, it was mostly comedy. Then it went through a short phase of superheroes, where it was all about fantasy, sci-fi, action, adventure stuff. And then it flipped really strongly back towards comedy for a little bit, and then romance. And it's been just mostly romantic comedy across the board for a little bit. But with that, you see every time one of those changes happen, you see loads and loads of new webcomics come in, and every time they do competitions, which is now rather frequently, you see again more and more waves of people coming in with new webtoons. Sometimes it's sad because people come in for a competition, they lose, and then they just leave. They don't post anymore. They leave the webtoon there, and it just collects dust, even if it was good. But that's neither here nor there. There is a lot of series more than when I started.
Yeah, yeah. Because I was wondering, because I started during the beginning of maybe I shouldn't mention it, but like the event that happened in 2020 that shall not be spoken of.
Ah,
That
yes,
everybody
yes.
knows exactly what we're talking about. But somehow,
Yes.
the Great Calamity. During the
Which,
start of the Great Calamity.
which low key, the best thing that could have happened to Webtoon creators. I'm just saying.
Like, I have a big theory, because I also am a person who's big into trying to think meta, because I'm just like that. I wish I wasn't, but I am.
I
went
mean,
on,
you can't help it in this day and age.
yeah. I went on to like Google Trends, and then I just searched Webtoon, and it just goes, whoo! As soon as you hit 2020, right during March.
Yep. Consumption in general in last year skyrocketed, and for obvious reason. And it's conflicting to say that it was my best year ever, even though it was such a terrible year, and I understand that, and it's hard to say because of that, but being completely realistic, it might have been a defining year for me.
Yeah. Could you talk a little bit more about that, if you don't mind?
Again, it's hard to say when you can't or you haven't really looked at the numbers, but 2019, December of 2019, I had about 670 subs, and I had already been posting for like a year and a half, right? December 2019 hits, and my series showed up on the front page for the first time, and holy crap, it killed me on the inside. The numbers started just booming, and it doubled my sub count in a couple hours, then tripled it by the end of the I was at 3,000 and something.
Yeah.
And I was speechless. Like I thought, holy crap, what a way to end the year. I uh, I I have no words. I guess I'll just take it, be thankful, and know this just won't happen again. 1 month later, it happened again, and again, and again, and again, and in a couple months, 20K.
Wow.
And I don't know. I always feel like I have like there's a guy who one of the curators. I see you, dude, or gal. I see you. That keeps putting me in those lists in the front page, and I could not be more thankful. But not only that, it's just that with that, everything else sort of just happened. I made tons of new friends. My Discord server is just crazy. Patreon these last couple months have been going just mind-blowingly amazing. The just everything, just
So it's big. 2020 was a big year for your
2020
time.
was it was. I had to change a lot of things. Obviously, also terrible things happened. Yes, it's been a tough year, but honestly, the way it's turned out for me, selfishly, I would say I wouldn't change anything.
So, something I'm curious about now is, so you hung in there for, you said, like a year and a half before your comics started to take off, right?
Yeah.
What was it like before then? I'm curious.
When I started, because of the competition that was going on,
Mm.
I got a few subs almost immediately because everyone was hanging out around Canvas. There was so many new series because everyone was competing for the big prize. So there was thousands of new series just like in a couple months. And from that, I got like 170 subs. I was happy. I got that in a couple days, and I could not believe it. I had never had anything be liked that much in the internet,
Mm.
and for months it stagnated there. It went up sometimes, it went down sometimes, until I made it to like 300 and something, and it just stayed there. It stayed there until, like I said before, one of the first webtoons I read, and I still read it, is Blue Chair. And Shen was doing this thing where, hey, send me a drawing, a fan art of Blue Chair at this email address. I'll put it on a chapter, and I did. And I was the only person to ask, hey, can you credit my webtoon?
Oh, that's a big brain strat right there.
Yes. And from there, in like 2 days, I doubled my numbers, and that's what left me at 600 and something before my little boom.
Mm.
But up to then, it had been terrible because I started so suddenly. When I was planning out the webtoon for a while. I was writing, I was designing, but I hadn't actually started to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother one day tells me, hey, you have to start now. There's a competition going on, big money. And I was like, oh crap, I don't have that much time. I don't even know how to do comics yet. So I just sort of rushed to do it while I still had a full-time job, and it was terrible. And I struggled. It took my every waking moment. I worked on it in my breaks at work. I had to leave my job so I could make it in time for the competition, and I was out of a job and I had no money, and a bunch of stuff happened. I changed the rhythm at which I worked. I changed the way in which I worked a few times through the years. I even at a point just got really depressed and stopped doing it for like a couple months, and came back to it later. But I feel like I needed that. I feel like I really needed to kick myself in the rear and get myself going. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Don't worry about it. I forgot. I'm sorry, comment section. Comment if you remember what my question was. Oh, wait, I remember. We're talking about the old days before 2020.
Yes, it was always very positive. That is one thing that always just baffled me, how positive it was. And I've always done my very best to answer to every comment. And if I don't, I try to at least leave a like so that they know that I've read it. And I've always done it. I still try to do it. It's getting really difficult because, suddenly you post and there's 100 comments, and you're like, oh my God, how I've got to answer all this. But I still try. And I think thanks to that sort of honest attempt at engaging with people, it's always been a very nice ride. It's always been supportive, helpful, constructive if there is criticism. I mean, it's getting to the point where, there will always be people, and I'm starting to see those people that, wanna trash on things just because, there are things to be trashed on. But it was, even though I had so much trouble forcing myself to post because I wasn't really, it was free labor up until a couple months ago. So even then, I could at least rest easy knowing that when I read the comments, I will come out a little bit happier.
Yeah, that's something I agree on. I really like the Webtoon community. I used to do like song covers before this, and it was so dramatic. So
Yes.
toxic, like every single day. Twitter is
Yes.
a nightmare. Oh my gosh.
It's like sometimes you will do something for fun that you think it's nice, and someone comes out and questions its very existence, and you're like, but it's for fun. I don't see what existential meaning do you want out of this doodle? Why?
Yeah.
I don't know. People. I don't know. People are fucking weird. First step bomb, and that's I include myself in there. Everyone's a little bit weird. I am also guilty of raging in the internet a little too often, maybe.
Yeah. I just got the pun there. But yeah. So
I feel like you're gonna get called out on it now that you said it. You shouldn't have said it.
but that's great for the meta. That's great for the meta. Everybody comment if you thought I should have gotten the pun earlier. Comment at what timestamp do you think I should have gotten the pun?
Timestamp it! Oh my god! Yes,
leave a timestamp in the comments. Okay. Is there anything else you want to say about Webtoon more generally, or are we good?
Well, I mean, there's a lot to be said. It does like that's a very broad thing to ask me because I could just straight up start ranting. So there are things to be displeased about. Yes, it's not, but I'm willing to accept that it's not perfect. It's a company, and they will do what companies do.
Make money.
Make money, basically. And hey, they started paying me recently, so by all means, make your money. You're not gonna hear complaints from me.
Yeah, just throw a little money our way, and we're good.
Yeah.
Don't worry about
Absolutely. Just, but yeah, no, it's I think for a beginner that has no idea what they're doing, like I was, it's a great place to start. It's not the ideal, perfect place to start, but it's great. That's all really I have to say on the matter. If you want any more information from me, you're gonna have to pry from my cold dead hands.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Like, there are some features that YouTube has that it doesn't have that I really want.
Oh yeah, I feel like it needs work. Yeah.
Like, it would be so nice because you were talking about like managing comments earlier. It would be so nice if you could just have a tab and you could see all the comments on your comic instead of having to go through pages. Because I only check my most recent episode.
Yes.
It's too much. Too much to micromanage.
If it told me every time someone posted a comment, I would not be mad. It would be a lot of notifications, but I wouldn't be mad because I sometimes go back to my first few chapters and sometimes just scroll through all my chapters and there's always no comments. And some of them I love and I look at them and I'm like, this was posted 2 months ago. Replying now would be weird. And I hate it because I love this comment. And people, all you out there who are commenting on old chapters, I see you. I'm just not doing anything because I'm awkward like that.
What a mood.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is like, I haven't run into any issues where I've actually had to do this, but from what I've heard, it would be nice if, like YouTube, you could moderate your own comment section, because eventually it's going to be too much for Webtoon to even manage themselves, so...
Yeah. I feel like I don't remember. It's not something I have a very selective memory, but I don't know if you can personally go and delete other people's messages. I don't think you can. Can you?
You cannot. You can report them if they violate terms of service, but if someone just leaves something not nice that doesn't violate terms of service, but it's still like, why is this there? You can't get rid of it. But it depends on like how you want to moderate things yourself.
Oh, a thing I really would like they had is if you could download any series, because right now you can only download originals to read them later, and I don't get why.
I think it might cause some legal problems because they don't own the IPs for Canvas.
Oh, I don't know, maybe.
Like I think they could set it up like you could sign a form and then give people permission to do that. But like, I think you'd have to do some sort of like legal agreement, which could just be clicking a box. But
yeah, there are also things that I would like. I know this would be terrible business practice, but there are things I would like if they could disclose to the readers, because I get really, really fired up when people tell me, why am I not doing this and this like that, without them knowing that I can't because I'm a Canvas creator, or that people immediately, like, I hate it for so long that so many people assumed I was making money.
Yeah.
When I had like 3,000 subs, which is not bad. And people were already like, hey, like they would use the excuse, but you're making money out of this, to complain about things.
Yeah, you're living in a mansion with like
And
3,000
first of all,
canvas subs.
and first of all, it's like, why are you complaining? Like, how dare you complain about this and do it even worse using an excuse that you made up? Because why do you assume that I'm making enough money to just do what you're asking me? Why? Why would you? You have no idea how mad that makes me.
Yeah, the threshold for getting ad revenue on Webtoon is pretty high. Like on YouTube, I think I'm gonna hit it by the time I post this video, because it's not gonna be for a while. But Webtoon, I don't think I'm gonna get it this year. Oh, on YouTube, I think I'm probably going to hit the threshold by the time this video goes up. But on Webtoon, I'd be very, very surprised if I hit it this year. Very surprised.
I mean, Webtoon is about that. Webtoon is really weird about that, because their requirements are severely unreasonable and disproportionate. Because, like, I understand having to hit a threshold. I get that. 1,000 subs minimum, I get that. Even 40K reads a month, I get that. But why are you asking for 1,000 subs but 40,000 reads a month?
Yeah.
How does that make any sense? Are you telling me that if I have 1,000 subs, in order for me to qualify for monetization, I have to post 40 times a month and have every single reader read it? What? Like, at least tell me that I need, I don't know, 5,000 subs, because it's not going to make any difference.
Yeah, like, I don't even think I'm gonna have that many page views total by the time I hit 1,000 subs on Webtoon. Yeah.
I didn't have that until I was like 11K subs. And I had to change to weekly posting.
Yeah.
Because it's just not real. Those numbers are ridiculous, and I don't know who thought putting them next to each other was a good idea. Just give me one or the other, of give me numbers that match. But please, what is this?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or maybe...
See, I said, no, I was just saying, I told you we could rant.
Yeah. Or it would be nice if, like, the requirement was lower, but, like, you had to have a certain amount of ad revenue collected total to cash out. Because, like, if you're a Canvas creator, and I guess this isn't true for right now because they're giving 100% of the ad revenue to Canvas creators because of the pandemic lowering the ad rates. But like, if you're a Canvas creator and you can't put ads because you haven't hit that view threshold, they're not making any money either.
Yep.
So I think it would make sense to lower it, because then they would make more money.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, yeah. But I think I know why. Because isn't ad revenue fairly new?
I think you're right, but
because up to recently, because up to recently it was only like the creator this thing where basically they pay you a salary, kind of, pretty much, right?
Yeah. I remember
And like
seeing that.
under those conditions, like under a fixed amount of money, I guess it makes sense. But if you're now adding ad revenue with some, now it feels like they just haven't adjusted fully. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Maybe they're doing like a slow rollout, like the scheduler. I was so mad when they were like, well, if you get like a bazillion page views a month, you can have access to the scheduled posts. And I'm like, that should have been on the site like
Oh,
5 years ago. What are you talking
right?
about?
That is one thing I was like, why won't you give me the option? Why? Because like as someone who's lived in so many places with shite internet, that would have been so freaking useful.
Yeah. Or like I had one situation where I was going on vacation during the pandemic out into the middle of the woods and we weren't going to have any internet. And so because
Oh
there
my
wasn't the
god.
scheduler yet, I just published a chapter in the middle of the night, which is never a good idea. Don't do that if you're listening. Publish during when people are awake. But it would have been so nice to have it earlier.
And I don't know. It just seems so. It seems now so basic, you know. Even beyond that is why does now that we have it? Yes, why does it kind of suck? Because have you tried to schedule several episodes at a time?
No, I don't think so. Because I've run into issues where like you can't reorder things. So
Exactly.
unless I am 100% certain, I do not schedule something.
Exactly. And if you're making one and you put it as draft, you cannot make another one until you finish that one. And it's a whole thing if you wanna edit certain things, it just won't let you unless you erase all of it and start from scratch with the schedules.
Uh,
And I had that issue running into. I was trying to post an extra chapter and a chapter, and it turned out that I wanted to delete the first one because I didn't want it there. I wanted to switch places basically, and what I had to do was I had to delete both of them and remake them. And I'm like, why?
yeah, you should just be able to reorder things. Or like,
Yeah.
I have a bunch of like collabs that are all next to each other because they happen to come out at the same time. I didn't plan it that way. Like would love to like just move them so they're a little spread out or something.
Right?
Or like I have like I'm like 3 chapters ahead right now. And I have one done that's up and it's scheduled. I have one in the middle where I'm waiting to get the base colors back, and then I have one that I colored myself that's completely done. And I can't upload it until I get the base colors back for the other one, and it bothers me.
Right? It's like, oh, I hate it.
Yeah. But
I don't know.
that's my it's not even like that big of a complaint, but like that's my biggest thing with Webtoon. They need to have more features for uploading, or like their analytics is just you really can't do anything with their analytics.
Their analytics are god awful. God awful. They are so bare bones. It's impressive. Instagram gives me more information, and it sucks.
Yeah. Like it would be nice to know like what's the average reader age, or like
That would be
how many how many views an episode actually got, because I don't know if someone reads it unless they like it. For all I know, like there are like only like 30 actual readers.
Yes.
Like
Or like what are your most read episodes, for example?
or if there's any like episode where the readership suddenly drops off, so I know what to prioritize to redo or something.
It's just little things that are like tiny annoyances.
Yeah. Or like, I'd love to have a graph where you can see your subs over the lifetime of your comic and just look and check the date and go like, oh yeah, that happened.
So nice. That would be really nice.
Like I'd just take the graph if I have to pick, just a graph.
Oh, that would be great. And everything has one of those. I don't know why they don't. The only way I can see sort of when I got what amount of subscribers is that I have to look back at my old Instagram stories, And it sucks because it tells me by weeks. It's like, oh, you posted it 56 weeks ago. I'm like,
42
that's
weeks
helpful.
ago.
Yeah, I'm like, you could have just said year and one.
Yeah, I was keeping track of it with like an Excel sheet, and then I just got kind of lazy because it's like you have to remember every month to like input all this data before it goes away, and all of your stats get reset on the first of every month. So all of a sudden you drop from whatever amount of page views to like average 0 views per episode, which is useless.
And if you, let's be honest, if you're doing this whole thing right, you are managing a bunch of accounts, some of which make money, hopefully, and you just don't have time to have spreadsheets for everything. At least I don't.
Yup.
Like when you're managing a bunch of posting schedules and just constantly having to check sales and emails and things, and it's like, and you expect me to keep track of this stuff myself? Why?
Yeah. Or like that's something I wish that when I was in college they would have taught me, because I had to take a data class, but we used like R and we were talking about like dumb business stuff. So like all the stuff I learned was basically like useless. I would have rather just had a class where we learned like Excel.
I mean, for all the things I learned in school, I never learned anything about economics, business, nothing.
Yeah, it's a shame. Like they should at least teach us how to do taxes.
Right.
Be like
my God.
minimum.
I was so lucky that by the time I had to do my taxes, I had a friend of mine that was human relations at my job, and she helped me do my taxes.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for her, oh my God, Julie, thank you so much. I don't know if you'll ever listen to this, but thank you.
Shout out to Julie for the tax help.
Shout out to Julie for the help with my taxes. Holy crap.
Or like I got my first Patreons this month, but then like looking back, I'm really glad that I got them this month and not in December, because I feel like that would have complicated things. Just have everything cleanly in 2021.
Okay, stay tuned, guys. This one's actually going to be a two-parter, so hold on for the next one. I just wanted to note really quick that this was recorded January 19th, 2021. So yes, a lot of things have changed since the recording of this interview. If you can't wait for part 2, be sure to go into the description and check out the link to Rage's comic. Or, if you need something to listen to right now, there are lots of other interviews on my channel. I want to wrap this up by saying thank you guys so much for supporting my channel. My audience has grown quite a bit recently, and I don't think I say enough how much I appreciate all the people who stick by me video after video, so thanks.